Well, we start with the breaking news from the last hour, and it's good news for Arsenal. William Saliba has agreed a new 5-year contract with the club. His existing deal was up in summer 2027, so this extends that by 3 years. Since making his Arsenal debut in 2022, Saliba's established himself as one of the best defenders in Europe and formed a terrific partnership with Gabriel. And speaking on Sky Sports FC, Charlie Austin says there's only one defender in the Premier League who can match Saliba.
That's massive for Arsenal, and looking at it, he's going to be on par with Virgil van Dijk as the best centre-half in the league, really, and that's where he's at. He's highly thought of by Arsenal, the Arsenal fans, and look, they've reacted quickly and got probably arguably one of their best players tied down to a new deal.
Well, since making his Arsenal debut, the 24-year-old has kept the most clean sheets of any defender in the Premier League. He's also won the most possession in the middle of the pitch of any defender, while he ranks third for passes completed and total touches and scores highly in goals scored and aerial duels won as well. So if Saliba does agree this new deal, he'd be the 6th Arsenal first-team player to do so in the last 2 years. Youngsters Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri, Saliba's regular defensive partner Gabriel, Ben White and club captain Martin Ødegaard have all extended. Now, Sky Sports have partnered with analyses, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, you just scan this QR code here or visit the Sky Sports app for more details on it. Well, let's speak live now to Arsenal supporter Toby Parks to get more on this. Toby, great to see you. I can see the smile on your face. How important was it then to tie William Saliba down?
I mean, it's so important. He's probably one of our most important players, maybe our most important. I mean, you certainly could argue he's top 2-3 centre-backs in the world, maybe alongside Van Dijk, even Gabriel next to him. And, there's a lot of noise externally around Arteta and what's going on there. And I think that really is external, because what you can see here, and I know Saka's probably shortly coming along with a contract too, is that the players are fully on board with what's going on at the club, and they're fully on board with the project. So unbelievably delighted that he's there. It's just mad to think that when he actually joined, that it was 2 years where he was on loan, and a lot of fans didn't even think he would ever play for the club in the end, given what was going on. So unbelievably happy to have him here as one of the best centre-backs in the world for a long more time.
You mentioned Gabriel. You also signed a new deal in the summer. How key is that partnership when you look towards trying to win the title?
I mean, massively. Consistency and depth is probably some of the most important things within a back four that you need. We had a lot of, since Koscielny and Mertesacker, I think we had a lot of different, very questionable centre-backs for quite a long time. So to have these two as a bedrock for a number of years, for a few years up to now, and then obviously a few years coming up, is so good. And with Nkapia coming in, Mosquera looking every bit the part that we'd hoped he'd be, and more at the age he's at, I think it's looking really, really good defensively in every different way.
Now, Saliba is yet to win a trophy in his time at the club. Do you think that needs to change in order to keep him happy?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, it's with these kind of players, you do have to deliver. I think that's completely unquestionable. But what this does show is that he fully believes, as the rest of the squad do, that this is the place to do that. It hasn't happened yet. You could call it luck, you could call it tactics at various different points, and a couple of injuries here and there, and it could have gone another way. But you can see the club is going all in, and that's the transfer strategy at the moment. They've plugged the depth. They spent a lot of money in an unprecedented way, and I really think they believe that this is the time to do it. They've got to start winning to keep these players, and I think we all get that. We need to keep the energy at the club, and I think trophies is the final piece of the puzzle to be able to do that. And there's only so long you can go without doing that. So, and I reckon that'll be this year.
It will be?
Absolutely. Can you not hear the confidence in my voice?
Well, maybe we lost the connection slightly because it went a bit shaky. No, I'm only joking, Toby. Look, you touched on this before, but do you think you could argue a case for Saliba being the best centre-back in the world?
Yeah, look, Van Dijk's been doing it for a long, long time, and I think there's no question, just his experience and his quality and everything he brings, it's difficult to argue that he's not. But in terms of age and where he's at and what he's doing at his age, and how much he's done already, I think there's certainly an argument you could say he's absolutely up there. Funnily enough, I think last season, Gabriel probably had a slightly better season. He's a little bit older. I think he just brings a bit more fire, whereas Saliba's ice. But I really believe that those are the top three, and it's amazing to have both at our club, of two of the top three, I should say.
Great stuff. Toby, great to get your thoughts. Thank you.
Now, I know we're going back a bit. Arsenal-Manchester City, 1-1 last Sunday. A lot of discussion about Arteta's tactics, and I know you addressed it as well, Craig, when you were here earlier on in the week. But what's been interesting is that there was an embargo piece of the press conference that has been released. This was ahead of the Port Vale game in the Carabao Cup. This is what Arteta had to say.
What did you make of that narrative of you being too cautious and deploying a cautious approach which could have detriment in the future?
But I'm going to convince somebody that feels that way to something else. I cannot spend my energy of that. I think when you look at the winning record on this football club, the goals that we score, the clean sheet that we have, the way we play, the way we played against Manchester City, in the territory we play against Man City. But I mean, I cannot waste that opportunity. And if the intention of those comments, which ones are the good ones, positive, to be better for us, not to be so good for us. So depending where the comment is coming from, I think that's when I can analyze it. See what is the intention, what is the purpose of that? Because I had a lot of things using my phone. They could not believe what we did to Manchester City. And people that are coaches, managers, CEOs, presidents, so proud. And I look at the players and the people around. So I'm much more filled and fueled with that with other ones that they want to make that.
Very similar to Ian Darke after a commentary. CEOs are always blowing up his phone to compliment him as he joins us now from the shadows a little from his house. I like it, Ian. Interesting stuff from Arteta, of course. Clearly, that criticism after his starting 11 against City has got to him a little bit, feeling that he has to cite that people have been on his phone blowing it up to congratulate him on his tactics.
Yeah, well, I think he's being a little bit oversensitive. I think it's a valid debate. I mean, it has been, I think, for a season or two about whether Arsenal are ambitious enough in the bigger games. I think that was a criticism levelled at them at Anfield against Liverpool. And I think he was right on the day. They didn't go for it enough until they went behind late to that great Szoboszlai free kick on that game. And against Manchester City, you did defend brilliantly, I thought, in that game, which we haven't said a lot about Manchester City in the last year. I mean, there was a debate. He didn't play Eza. He didn't play Martinelli, who'd come on and done really well. He preferred Trossard on the left. And it was only when those players got involved that they conjured up that magical equaliser in stoppage time. So, look, people are going to carry on debating it, whether Mikel Arteta likes it or not.
Could be another documentary here with light bulbs and all that.
Yeah, I know.
I was on his phone. That's what he was on his phone because that's how people contact you.
Yeah.
I mean, presidents and CEOs and managers and coaches of all these busy conglomerates around the world. They've got all the time in the day to phone somebody up who's just drawn with Man City at home. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Drawn with Man City at home. Tottenham have beaten them. Brighton have beaten them. I mean, this is the Man City that are untouchable these days. This is the Man City that lost, what, did they lose 8 straight last year? When they fell off the cliff, went for the parachute and it wasn't on. They couldn't win a game. Could not win a game. Dropped, at one point, they weren't even going to get in the top 5. We were sitting here discussing it. Man City might not get in the top 5. They might not be in the Champions League. They did in the end, but that's how bad they were. They've drawn with them at home, and every Tom, Dick and Harry from around the world is phoning them on his phone, by the way. It's incredible. Here's a guy, and he talks about, you know, the results this club have had. He's won an FA Cup in his time there. That's what he's won. He's improved the squad, or the club have. He's got a perfect squad now, near perfect. He's got a very, very strong outfit to go to the bench. He's got quality all over. They've spent a fortune. They keep finishing second. Now he has to get them over the line. And any thought about anybody criticising him is irking him. And that's telling me he knows the pressure he is under. He's got his striker. He's got his backup in the wide positions. He got Zubimendi. He's got a back four that most people in European football would die for. Absolutely rock solid. But yet, he was cautious in that game at home against a team that many people don't think will get back to the summit. Right? This wasn't Man City in their pomp of 3 or 4 years ago that when they rolled in and got off the bus, everybody was quaking in their boots. This is not that Man City. This is the Man City that most teams in the Premier League can get at. And we've seen it already this season on 2 occasions. They can be got at and they can be beaten. And Arsenal failed to do that. With all that pressure and all that possession, they failed because he had, for the most part of the game, the wrong personnel in the wrong areas to get the job done. That's a fact. And he can sit there and bumble away all he wants, like David Brent from The Office. But the point is, he was too cautious against a Man City side that did defend well, as Ian said. I'll give you that. They did defend well. But if you do the right things in the right areas in the final third against that back four, they had Kushanoff at right back, who's a centre back. They had Nico Riley at left back, who's a midfielder. And yet Arsenal were cautious with the 3 midfielders. Eze should have played. That's, in my opinion, I think in most. He could have played in that number 10 role. He did not until late in the game. And he was the difference with that ball over the top.
Why do you feel he had the need to share this, Shaq?
I'll just double down on what Craig said. I think it's pressure. It's about the pressure. That
I think so.
Without question. Listen, I think while he's felt that pressure for many seasons gone, I think now it's been turned up because they've gotten that piece that everybody said they'd been missing in Gyökeres. Everybody said they'd been missing. Now all of a sudden, as Ian mentioned, you lose to Liverpool, and now the discussion around this City result, if not result, certainly performance is, did Arsenal pin City back, or did City play that way by design to hurt Arsenal in the counter-attack? Now, given that Arsenal scored in 93rd minute or whatever it was, I'm more feeling, and kind of looking at how the game progressed, I'm more feeling that all of a sudden Pep Guardiola played in a way that nobody expected. He sat deep, he defended well, he used Doku and Haaland to very good effect, and Arsenal just weren't able to solve that conundrum, or certainly break them down because they didn't have the creativity on the park because they were expecting to be pinned back a little bit more. So if you look at it from that perspective, you think Pep outcoached Arteta on the day. Whilst Arteta now is feeling that pressure, maybe seeing that, maybe hearing some of that criticism, given that he's now got all the pieces to his puzzle, this is his only defence of, well, what was an all right result. Could have been a whole lot worse, but it's certainly not great by any measure.
Now, what does he do? What is he? He's put more pressure on himself because he has one of the big games of the Premier League season at the weekend, Newcastle, away from home. And if you watch the Champions League game with Barcelona at St James's Park, who you could consider in the top 2 or 3 teams in European football at the moment, and you saw how Newcastle, particularly in the first half, put them under pressure, then they can do it to Arsenal. So what does he do? Because you might think, well, I go to Newcastle, maybe that's when I would have a bit more of a cautious approach.
Yes.
Away from home, take the sting out of the game, then bring the flair players on. But is he now double thinking and overthinking it and, all these, what are the chief executive officers telling him to do at the weekend? I don't know. Does he go up there and is he sort of pressured into change? Do you think the press are going to be on to me? What the pundit's going to say if I go with, I need to play Eze, I need to play him, I need to get Saka into the team. What is he going to do in this Newcastle game? Because if he goes to St James's Park, and it's well possible you can go up there and get beaten, because I know it's not perfect for them losing Isak, but they're a good side. And they're at home, and that crowd behind them. He needs some sort of result. Not because the draw against Man City at home was terrible, but because he came out and tried to say, you guys, you've no idea what you're talking about. I'm the only one that knows what I'm doing, and don't even question me. So he really needs to get a big result on Sunday.
Pressure is a word that both Craig and Shaka have used, Ian. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think he is under pressure because they've been runners-up 3 times in a row now. And as the guys have been saying, he's had the money, he's strengthened the team in all the right areas. So it's green for go, or it should be green for going. Craig's right. That is a bit of an acid test game at Newcastle at the weekend. They've got a great defence, best defence in the league. It was last season. I think it will be again this season. But, one thing that happened in that game, with Gyökeres, I don't think he had a chance in the game. They weren't creating any chances. They never looked like scoring against Manchester City until they did in the 93rd minute, whatever it was. So that's a bit of an issue. But I think you have to cut Arteta a little bit of slack still, because it's still pretty early days and he's still getting this new team to gel and maybe still working out what he thinks is the best lineup. And the best lineup, I think everybody agrees, is that Eza has to play as a number 10, not stuck out wide on the left touchline as he was for a game or two earlier on.
Well, they'll need to work it out quick, won't he? Because Liverpool are winning every game and City have still.
That's it. How much of a head start do you want to give?
And look, Ian talked about cutting them some slack there, and he has been cut a bit of slack in the last couple of seasons where they did put up some sort of title fight, which fell away. And whilst it fell away and City were strong one year, Liverpool were strong last year, you could put the argument up and say, well, Kai Havertz, we've discussed him, he's not really a number 9 and they need that player, or they, bringing Raheem Sterling in to back up Saka, that's never going to work. So you could find maybe an excuse there. And I think one of the issues that he has, looking from the outside now as a manager, is if the results are not there, and again, as Ian said, it is very early. But when all this is coming together at the end of the season, if they're not right in it to win it, people are going to say, well, you got your number 9. You got all the backup players to the wide position. You got your extra midfielder in that you wanted. So there is really no excuses now. And if it comes to a point where they're not getting the results, the discussion's going to turn from can Arsenal win the league to can Arsenal win the league with Mikel Arteta. And that takes the focus from the squad onto the manager.
Arsenal relieved after avoiding nightmare draw in Carabao Cup. Home tie against Brighton seen as major advantage for Arteta's side. Arsenal fans, and Mikel Arteta, have every reason to be pleased with the latest Carabao Cup draw. The Gunners will host Brighton at the Emirates in the 4th round, a much welcome outcome that helps the team avoid a daunting run of away fixtures. After heavily rotated Arsenal side comfortably knocked out Port Vale on the road, the depth and quality of the squad became even more evident. Arteta made 9 changes to the lineup, yet the team delivered a confident performance, a testament to the strength and adaptability of his squad. Speaking after the win, Arteta praised the players' ability to gel despite so many changes. It's really impressive how strong the team looked with so many fresh faces. We had a completely new midfield, a new front line, and even brought in Max Dowman, who immediately connected with the group. There are a lot of positives to take away from that match. The draw against Brighton at home couldn't have come at a better time. Had the fixture been away, it would have kicked off a brutal stretch of travel for Arteta's side. Instead, the team can now enjoy a valuable break from the road, and that breathing space could make all the difference. Here's what Arsenal were potentially facing. An away game at Burnley on November 1st. Followed by a quick turnaround to travel to Prague for a midweek Champions League clash against Slavia Prague. Then, after barely recovering, they'd face a long domestic trip to Sunderland, one of the furthest journeys in English football. With so much travel compressed into a short time frame, hosting Brighton at home is more than just a lucky draw, it's a strategic advantage. The team gets a rare chance to stay grounded, maintain energy levels, and continue building momentum. For a club chasing success on multiple fronts, every detail matters. And in this case, a favourable cup draw might just give Arsenal the edge they need in the weeks ahead. This favourable scheduling gives Arteta a rare opportunity to manage player workload during an already congested period of the season. With Premier League, Champions League, and domestic cup responsibilities piling up, avoiding an additional away trip is more than just convenient. It's crucial for maintaining squad fitness and tactical consistency. The reaction among fans and analysts has been largely positive. Many pointed out that this draw offers Arsenal a more manageable path deeper into the competition without compromising their position in other tournaments. While Brighton remains a technically strong and well-coached side, facing them at the Emirates provides a significant psychological and logistical boost. Brighton, meanwhile, have built a reputation as a side capable of unsettling top 6 teams, particularly in knockout scenarios. Their high-pressing style and sharp transitions could still pose a threat, especially if Arsenal rotate heavily again. However, the Gunners' growing squad depth, bolstered by smart summer signings, gives Arteta more flexibility than in previous seasons. One of the key players emerging from these cup fixtures is young midfielder Max Dauman. Handed his debut against Port Vale, Dauman impressed with his composure and ability to link play in midfield. Arteta has hinted that more minutes could be coming his way, particularly in cup competitions, as the club looks to carefully integrate academy talent into the senior setup. Looking ahead, the home tie against Brighton is likely to see a mix of youth and experience, similar to the approach taken in earlier rounds. Senior players returning from injury or in need of minutes, such as Emile Smith-Rowe or Fabio Vieira, could feature, alongside youngsters like Dauman and Royal Walters. Internally, the club is viewing this as more than just a chance to progress in the Carabao Cup. It's also an opportunity to test new combinations, build chemistry among squad players, and maintain rhythm during a taxing part of the calendar. With matches coming every few days across multiple competitions, small advantages like a home cup tie can accumulate over time and make a real impact. As the week of October 27th approaches, all eyes will be on Arteta's lineup decisions. The fixture presents a balancing act, the need to remain competitive while preserving key players for critical European and league matches. Still, given the team's recent performances and the strategic benefits of playing at home, there's a quiet confidence within the camp that Arsenal can take another step forward, both in the cup and in their broader campaign goals.